Fellow Blazers, welcome to episode 13 of UAB Green and Told. Through this podcast, we sit down with members of the UAB family to share their stories. I'm Greg Berry, Assistant Director in the UAB Office of Alumni Affairs. As we come off Valentine's weekend, what better time to share a love story? On this episode, we're joined by Matt and Rachel Morse, two former athletes who hit it off and started dating almost as soon as they met.
We walked in and, hey, we just met each other not long ago, and we hit it off, and that was that. But it was early on, in maybe halfway through the fall semester.
As they'll share, dating turned into love, and ultimately, that love blossomed.
When it happened, I was kind of like, this is like a mean joke. Why? Really? So I was very excited.
And this love affair burns deeper than just being husband and wife. The Morses also work together.
But we work from home.
We work from home.
It's not like Matt can just head out to the office for a few hours. It's just upstairs.
Rachel James, as she was known to her friends before getting married, was a standout volleyball player. All area, all region, all everything. You kind of get the picture. But for Rachel, she didn't know she was going to be a Blazer.
I did not always know I was going to be a Blazer. I grew up in Gardendale, which is about 20 minutes down the road, and I knew I wanted to play volleyball in college, and I told my parents, I want to stay in the Southeast, but I'm getting as far away from home as possible.
Yeah.
And then that's just not how it worked out. So Hal Messersmith was the director of operations here, and he was my travel ball coach.
Okay.
So he was very persistent and wanted me to come play for the Blazers. So I did.
What year was that? When did you come?
2007.
2007. Okay. And Matt, for you, when did you come and how? You're a Chicago kid, and you wind up here in the warmer South. So how did that all transpire?
Well, you just nailed it. The warmer South. As a baseball player, especially an infielder, a guy who, gets as many repetitions as possible, can't do much for 4, 5, 6 months out of the year.
Yep.
So it was important to me to get into a warmer climate in a competitive conference like Conference USA to just challenge myself and see what I was capable of. And so I ended up with 27 scholarship offers, and 3 of those were below this line that I drew through the map of the United States. But UAB was a no-brainer, just athletically, academically, the whole package. So I actually was introduced to UAB through Perry Roth, who's still the recruiting coordinator for the baseball program. He's an Illinois native, and he was home for Thanksgiving while my high school football team was playing in the state championship about 15 minutes from where he grew up, so it was on the local TV network, and
Okay.
He had saw the game on TV and had gotten my name from a baseball scout in the Midwest previously, and he kind of put the two together, reached out to my football coach, and the rest is history.
And when did you arrive on campus?
Fall of 2010.
So around that time, too, you were starting to get into, obviously, practice, but you wanted, I assume, to get involved on campus as well. You started going to soccer games and other athletic events. Talk a little bit about how you two kind of met and got together, because that happened almost immediately when you got on campus.
Yeah, it was very soon. There was one brief encounter at a soccer game, like you mentioned, where one of the other older baseball players introduced Rachel to me, and we talked very briefly there, and then I think it might have been the same night we ended up seeing each other again at a softball apartment. There were some baseball guys getting together with some softball players.
My roommates were softball players.
Okay.
And Rachel's roommates were there, and so we walked in and, hey, we just met each other not long ago, and we hit it off, and that was that. But it was early on, in maybe halfway through the fall semester of my freshman year.
But that's not exactly the real story. The real story of how they initially got to know each other is, well, rather interesting.
Well, there was something interesting, all right.
It was super interesting. Do you want to tell them like a real story?
There's a real
we
story.
We were Facebook friends, and we don't know why, because we
Okay.
didn't know each other. But
It was her.
I don't know how we ended up being Facebook friends. I mean, I guess maybe he came on a recruiting trip. Maybe we met before he got on campus.
Okay.
But he was always, like, he knew he was coming to play baseball here, so he would post status updates about the baseball team, and he's always saying, "Go Blazers" on Facebook. And one day, I asked someone, "Who is this guy?" He's always saying the scores of the games and saying, "Go Blazers," and I don't know who he is. And they were like, "Oh, he's still a senior in high school. He'll be here next year." And so I just knew he was this kid who was like always saying, "Go Blazers" on Facebook. And so someone actually called me and said they were coming over to the softball apartments and they needed directions because Matt Morse was driving. And I was like, "Yes, Matt Morse, go Blazers." So he came in and I hollered, "Go Blazers," and really hit it off.
We started dating a couple months after that. She
Okay.
came up to Chicago for New Year's to see what Chicago was all about, and we started dating on January 1st.
What is dating like on campus? We're looking at 2010, 2011, around that time. What's there to do? What kind of fun can you have? How does that work? Especially, as athletes and I think at that point, former athlete.
Yeah, I was done playing. I know one time we went and we listened to Sam Hunt sing on campus,
Okay.
and nobody knew who he was. He was just a big nobody. So we did that and just different little on-campus things. Went to a lot of sporting events, basketball games, football games once the fall rolled around. What else? I don't
But we had a
remember
lot of
ba-
mutual friends, so
Yeah,
it was pretty natural. Whether it was going out to eat or getting together at, a lot of the athletes lived down kind of on Lakeshore, those apartments, and so there was always groups of people getting together, which made it easier for me or for her because, her friends were all older and
Yeah.
she was hanging out with this freshman, so it made it easier because some of our friends were friends with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of sporting events, football games, basketball games.
We said "Go Blazers" a lot
Yeah.
on all of our dates.
Yeah. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was a relationship that progressed relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you know what, this is the one? I mean, we're going to be together for quite a while. Was it relatively soon?
I think it's something that develops with time, It's you go through certain experiences together, and after 1 year and 2 years and 3 years, it's they're just you build up enough trust with each other, and you realize I think it's there from the beginning, and it just gets stronger and stronger.
Yeah. It was 3 years of dating, three and a half. What were some of the highlights? What are some of the best memories you have that might even be off campus that you had together?
There were a few times she came up to Chicago for either Christmas or New Year's, and then a few times that as a college baseball player, the summers are full of summer travel, summer leagues in different parts of the country. So there was a couple times she was able to come see me play there, which was cool. But other than that, it was mostly either here in Birmingham or a lot of times she would come travel to watch the baseball games, weekend series at Auburn, different schools. So Florida State Regional she was able to come to, which was cool.
So a lot of our dating was around, the time span. He was playing baseball, so we did a lot of baseball things and hung out with the baseball players a lot and went to a lot of baseball games and traveled, and then we went to Chicago I came up to Chicago a couple of times, and that was always fun, doing the New Year's and all the fun winter stuff.
Were you a baseball fan before?
No. I didn't really know anything about baseball.
How long did it take for you to understand the game?
Not too long. I still don't know some stuff. Like, you don't really know what all's going out there. Like, the coach is giving signals, and I don't know what he's talking about or wanting them to do at all. But I got the gist of it after probably one season. I did okay.
At this point in the relationship, they'd been dating for a few years. But what about marriage? After this short message, find out what the plans were for Matt and Rachel.
Community,
generosity,
caring, giving back. Join together with alumni and students as we serve the Birmingham community. On Saturday, April 4th, the UAB National Alumni Society will host its 4th annual UAB Unite Day. Through this special day of service, we'll give back by completing projects at Glen Iris Elementary. Volunteer at alumni.uab.edu/unite.
As we pick up Matt and Rachel's story, they had been dating for more than 3 years. And now, the topic of marriage was starting to pop into the young couple's conversations.
Well, there was a short window of time where somehow it kind of came up in conversation. And
Because I was older.
And because she was older,
Okay.
finishing school, she was starting to teach and stuff. And I think she might have brought it up, and I was just like, oh, no. I got to finish school, and we got to get some things by. But what she didn't know is when we had that conversation, the ring was in the top of my closet.
No kidding.
And I had already planned on proposing that Christmas and just wanted to kind of keep it a surprise because I knew we were on the same page and we didn't need to have some, long formal conversation about it. I felt like I had a good vibe and knew what she wanted and didn't need to go ring shopping together and things like that. So she was actually coming to Chicago that Christmas and her parents were going to join for a few days. So I thought that would be a pretty neat opportunity. And one of my family traditions is feeding the homeless on the Sunday after Christmas every year. And so in downtown Chicago through my aunt's church. And so we did that thing, and Rachel's parents were actually able to join us for that. And traditionally after we do that, we go down the road and we eat at Connie's Pizza,
Okay.
which is a nicer establishment. And so we walk from the church to that place, and we're walking, and I kind of stay towards the back because I hadn't talked to Rachel's parents about this yet, and I had planned on proposing to her at the restaurant when we got to dinner. And we had it planned out, and they had this slideshow and music and all this, and I hadn't talked to her parents yet, so I wanted to, because her dad's kind of a character too. We've always got along really well. But I knew that he would appreciate a little entertainment in the process. And so I got him towards the back of the pile of people that were walking, maybe 40 family members walking from the church over to the restaurant. And I just mentioned to him that, I wanted to ask him for his daughter's hand in marriage. And he was like, oh, yeah, that, and we had a short conversation as we're walking. And he says, I'll talk to my wife about it in the car ride back to Birmingham tomorrow. Yeah. And, we'll get back with you. And I said, oh, well, she's going to know before that car ride back to Birmingham tomorrow. And he's kind of thrown off. He's like, oh. And we kept walking a little bit. He's like, oh, okay.
Then he realized.
And then I think he realized. And we got to the restaurant, and we all sat down. And it was her birthday as well. Yes. So we had it timed up with a birthday cake. And then once everybody sang happy birthday, I was on a knee behind her. And she thought I was joking.
Music played and the slideshow.
You had no clue?
No. I thought it was going to be another couple of years because he was still in school, and then one year he hurt his shoulder, so we had to take a red shirt year, so that was going to be another year, and I thought we were going to wait at least until he got out of school, and maybe a little bit longer after that. So, I had just put on my patient.
Yeah.
Put on my patience, and I was like, well, we'll get around to it some other, later. But so yeah, it was a big surprise for me. When it happened, I was kind of like, this is like a mean joke. Why? I don't really. So I was very excited that we didn't have to wait 3 more years. My first year, I taught in Leeds, 5th grade, and then after that, I got a job at Bragg Middle School in Gardendale, which is where I went to school. So I was teaching 6th grade there and coaching volleyball and basketball and a little bit of 6th grade track.
What was that like?
I was very busy.
Teaching in your hometown, teaching at a school you went to. Yeah. What was that like?
It was interesting, it's like, oh, this is like sort of a behind-the-scenes look, because I remember going to school there, and when I was coaching the 7th grade team, and the 8th grade teams were coached by the woman that coached me.
Okay.
And then I'm teaching 6th grade with some of my 6th grade teachers, so it was fun. And then there was a couple other people that were teaching there that I went to school with also.
Okay.
So it's like a fun little big family reunion, a big middle school family reunion. So it was fun.
Did you have a lot of Rocket gear to support her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I made it out to a couple middle school volleyball games every year, a couple basketball games. They loved her there. When it came down to it, I was done with my school here. I was done playing, and I had about 8 opportunities to go coach at various Division I schools, what I had always wanted to do, and I had about 5 or 6 clients who wanted to hire me on the business and marketing side of their business. Most of them were in sports, coaches, authors, consultants, and so I just realized it was a very unique opportunity to kind of position it as a consulting role where I could work with multiple clients and help share what I had learned and try to help them to better market their products and services. And I figured if I crash and burn, I can go back to the baseball thing later on. But just with the evolution of technology and the timing was just really incredible for me to be able to kind of step in and go for it. And then really just focused the first year or so of my business on over-delivering for those clients, learning a ton myself and helping them to get the best results that we could create. And that generated a lot of positive word-of-mouth referrals, which kind of drove us forward.
Are you still teaching?
Nope.
You're working
With Matt.
That's
Yes.
what I thought. So let's talk a little bit about Chi-Effect and how that came about. Obviously, you needed a lot of support from Rachel to do it, but you're venturing out on your own. And how did the company really come to be? You explained a little bit of it, but how did you know, okay, this is what it's going to be? What's the basis behind the name Chi-Effect, and where are you guys now?
And so very early on in those 5 or 6 clients that I mentioned we were working with, right when I finished school, is that, that is just that. The strategy is great, but these individuals, a lot of them were coaches, consultants, solopreneurs, and they didn't have a marketing team behind them. So I realized that, okay, while the talk is and the strategy is great, we also need to provide for them the agency that actually does this work, be it build their website, manage their social media, write their email marketing campaigns, create their products, launch their products, manage their Facebook ads, etc. So very simply, we have 2 companies. One is hands-off consulting, and the other is a hands-on, done-for-you digital marketing agency. The name Chi-Effect comes from the combination of 2 Latin words, Kaizen, which is continuously improving. That's important to me because I feel like that's our mission, is just to continue. We're not going to try to make it perfect. We're not going to try to, have some radical transformation. We're not going to have a, completely flip your business. Now, we might do that, but that's not necessarily our mission. Our mission is just to continually get 1% better each day. So the word Kaizen is Latin for continuously improving, and then effectus is Latin for performance. So together it's continuously improving performance. And I positioned it that way as well because performance can go in a lot of directions, whether it be business, life, athletics.
When he came to you and said, "Dear, this is what my plan is," what was going through your mind and how supportive were you?
I was very supportive. I knew because we talked about the plan was he wanted to coach college baseball. And I'm teaching in my hometown, knowing he wants to coach college baseball. And if you want to coach college baseball, you don't really get to pick. You don't get to say, oh, I think I'm going to coach college baseball right here in Birmingham because my wife's job is here. We knew that wasn't going to be the case. So I was well prepared to move if we needed to move somewhere. And then he had been talking with all of the guys that were a part of his first project, and they were wanting him to do the business side of things. And he had one client who asked or gave a proposal and wanted us to move out to Dallas because that's where he was. And so he was one of our primary clients at first and wanted us to be close to him so that they could have more face-to-face time while they worked on the things that he needed done. And so he came to me and he said, I've talked to this school and this school about coaching and being volunteer assistant here or a paid assistant here, this, that, we've got these options, but we've also got Brian who wants me to move out to Dallas, and we could work with him, and we could also at the same time work with this client and this client, and what do you think about moving to Texas? And I said, if that's what you want to do, then that's what we'll do. We'll move to Texas, that's fine. And then he needed some stuff done in the graphic design area for some different clients a lot, and he sort of knew how to do it, so he could do the basics of it, but then he started kind of asking me, hey, do you think you could see if you could figure out how to do this or this for this client's book cover or this for this client's website? And I'm like, I can probably figure that out. Let me see. And so a lot of YouTube, took some courses online in graphic design in the Adobe suite, so Photoshop, Illustrator, all those things. And so I was doing here and there, I was doing some graphic design here and there for his clients, still doing the admin stuff as well. And then just the request for the things he needed done on the graphic design side kept coming. And so I actually started an Etsy shop making graphic design products. They're nothing like what his clients need, but just to practice using the programs, because it's like you learn how to do something in Photoshop, and then if you don't do it for, or at least for me, if I didn't do it for a couple of weeks, it's almost like I had to keep relearning. So I made an Etsy shop with like invitations for birthday parties and such, just so I could practice the layout of the program. And I would just make these things and put them in this Etsy shop. And at first, I was kind of like, no one's going to buy this stuff, but if they wanted to, here it is. That'll be fine. All that stuff just made me better in designing and in using those programs, and now I'm able to do almost anything they ask.
And when she says better, she means she's one of the best designers in the world. Don't let her fool you.
Yeah, now I'm thinking like maybe I should have got a degree in graphic design. I've always been very creative, and that I just, I don't know. I didn't know what I was going to do with a degree in graphic design if I got one, so I didn't get one.
That's what's also unique about what we're doing is if you think about, 5-10 years before, if we were to finish, there's no way that what we're doing would have been feasible. But you have this development of social media, technology, internet, people just understanding enough where we can kind of push them over the edge to get them to do some of these things because they know that the internet's there and they don't necessarily know how to use it. But if you were to go, if I graduated in 2005, there's no shot.
Matt and Rachel spend a lot of time together, and I do mean a lot of time. This couple not only lives with each other, but they don't have to go far to get to their office.
We have a lot of fun together. I think a lot of people that, the first couple of years of marriage, they are going in a lot of different directions, and so they may not see each other a lot, and that kind of, gets in the way at times. We have the opposite problem. We get to spend every day together.
We try to come up with things to do alone.
How difficult is it? Because you're working together, you're living together. How difficult is that?
We work from home.
We work from home.
It's not like Matt can just head out to the office for a few hours. It's just upstairs. So
yeah, we have some separation where I have space.
Yeah.
Where we're not together, we're not breathing down each other's throats every day. But we do get to spend a lot of time together, and I think we do a pretty good job of separating. We have 10 other team members as well. So I try to let Rachel do as much or as little as she wants and not have a long list of responsibilities, but she can contribute in huge ways. So I want to allow her the creative capacity to do that. But there's days that, she's doing other things. And in general, though, we have a lot of fun, and we couldn't have drawn it up any better.
So you guys, huge Blazers?
Big Blazer fans.
Big Blazer fans. What keeps that fire going?
They invested in me, and
we want them to do well, and we've been there before. And if you don't have support, it's harder to.
Yeah.
It makes you want to do better if you have that support and people behind you. So we want to make sure that all the programs here feel like they have people behind them.
But UAB took, they gave both of us a chance to play for them. Paid for our educations, gave us a majority of our wedding was made up of, teammates here. So it's easy to get fired up for the Blazers.
Where do you see you and Matt 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Matt?
Well,
we're really happy where we are now. So we would just like to, we live in Franklin, Tennessee, and we love it there. And we just built a new house. So we're happy, but we're never content. We always want to move forward. So we always want the business to do well and maybe not always we go back and forth, or he does, about do we want it to get bigger and bigger, or do we just want it to get better and better? Because you don't necessarily have to be bigger to be better. So, we're constantly trying to kind of decide that right now. Do we want to get bigger and bigger and better? But I mean, we're going to get better and better either way, and just always, providing support for all of our clients and getting their products out there and educating people with the products that we do launch for those clients, and just doing our best.
Where do you see UAB down the road, 10, 15, 25 years?
If you look at where it's come from, the time that I got here in 2010 until the time I left 2015, so much changed. And if you look at 2015 to 2019, 2, 3, 4 times that much has changed in the last 5 years. So if you stay on that track, I mean, we're talking 20-time growth in the next 5 to 10 years. And I think the athletics and what the football program has done has been amazing. I think that's going to continue to grow with the new stadium and the development that will bring to the city. And I think just from an overall, business standpoint, there's so many opportunities in Birmingham that exist now that weren't here 10 years ago. So that's equally as exciting as what it could be 10 years down the road.
And that's the Morses. Rachel graduated from the School of Education with a bachelor's degree in 2012, and Matt earned his bachelor's in marketing from the Collette School of Business in 2014, followed by an MBA a year later. In 2019, their company, Kifect, was part of the UAB Excellence in Business Top 25 Awards program. As former athletes, this couple definitely has an idea of what it means to be a Blazer.
I looked this up on Google one time when I was considering going to UAB, and there was a great definition that was laid out, and it said that we were trailblazers moving our way through college athletics, innovating, and it always stuck with me, and I've jokingly brought it up from time to time because people ask, what is the Blazer? And I said, they're like, oh, it's that dragon. And I was like, yeah, well, there's a story behind it. Yeah. And I don't remember the individual who initially made that decision to be the Blazers, but that's the origin of it, and I love it.
And we don't live in Birmingham, but we're still, we like to tell people we're from Birmingham, and we like for people to like Birmingham and want to go there and want to visit there and just be a part of a community with Birmingham behind them. And it's just the feeling of community, I think, to Blazers.
Catch up with other episodes of the podcast by visiting alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold. Have an idea for an upcoming guest? Email me at greenandtold@uab.edu. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen, but also give us a review. It'll help other Blazers find us. As always, you can keep up with us online and through social media. Just find us at UAB Alumni on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for listening, and until next time, go Blazers.